Now, that's a goodbye. We want you to come to Strand Nissan in Myrtle Beach. We're your South Carolina Nissan dealer, and I know that we can save you money. Come see us today.
I think the first thing you learn in the kitchen is make it convenient. Put everything where you can get to it and use the right cookware for the job. So for roasting or baking, the cookware I use is a Reynolds oven cooking bag. It's such a convenient way to cook a meal because the meat bastes itself tender and juicy right inside the bag. And there's no messy pan or oven to clean up. Look for Reynolds oven cooking bags, the convenient cookware from the makers of Reynolds Wrap.
Yesterday's game against the University of South Carolina marks the 20th anniversary of Carter-Finley Stadium. October the 8th, 1966, 20 years ago, the gates swung open to this absolutely magnificent athletic arena. Riddick Stadium was home to North Carolina State football teams prior to 1966. A full house would only accommodate 19,000 fans. The concrete stands were cold and uncomfortable, and parking was virtually non-existent. Strangely enough, one side of Riddick still stands, but the floor of the stadium is now a parking lot. The other stands remain intact, perhaps as a reminder of where the football program was in the early 60s. The idea of a stadium to replace Riddick began in 1962. Frank Whedon, now State's Senior Associate Director of Athletics, takes the story from there.
Don, actually, Coach Earl Edwards was one of the first ones to stress the need for the new stadium and suggested maybe that instead of Carolina enlarging theirs, Duke doing things to Wallace Wade and us building a stadium or doing anything with old Riddick Stadium, that maybe we'd go out to the Triangle and build one big stadium where we could have a game every weekend and all. But the other parties weren't that much interested in that, so we then pursued people like Walker Martin, Willis Casey, Roy Clogston, Cliff Benson, and those people, Mr. Finley, obviously decided, well, let's go on our own.
And Frank admits there was some resistance to the project.
There was a lot of concern because they said the size of Riddick, we can't fill Riddick Stadium. Well, obviously the reason we couldn't fill Riddick, it wasn't a very pleasant place to come to. You didn't have a whole lot of parking. You didn't have the seating capacity of good seats. You had a few limited good seats and inadequate press box and all those things. But so they said, well, we only average 14,000 to 15,000 for games at home. Why do you need a big stadium? Well, I think the first year in the Carter Stadium we averaged 28,000, which was at least 10,000 to 12,000 more than we had averaged in Riddick. So that right there proved that that was false. And there were a lot of people who thought we didn't need it, including some in the athletic administration. Willis Casey always said that he said that was one of the biggest mistakes he made because he didn't think we could fill it up. And obviously he admitted to his mistakes early and said that it's the best thing that's happened to us.
Choosing a site for the stadium was easy.
The university owned this land. It was belonged to the School of Agriculture, and they turned it over to the athletics department to develop. This was where we're standing right now was a pond, and the pond was drained, and then it was the cutaway with the digging and all to make the bowl effect that we have at Carter Stadium, except for the end closed in, and so it was a natural site.
The edifice was Carter Stadium until 1979, then changed to Carter-Finley Stadium in honor of family contributions to the project. Over the years, there have been some changes suggested, and there has been some subtle changes made.
As you say, we've done some subtle things, new lights in the parking lot. We have put in the new scoreboard, which is really a plus for the stadium, and the added women's restroom facilities. Those are things that just maintain the upkeep and make the stadium one of the finest places to play in America. But if we were to try to put seats, permanent seats, in the end zone, we have about 6,000 bleachers now, and we can put about 9,000 on the grassy bank, as we call section GG for green grass, and we can put about 9,000 to 10,000 on that, and you just charge the same price you would for a regular seat. And to duplicate that, this stadium costs about $3 million to build, plus the A.E. Finley Fieldhouse. If we tried to do that now, put seats in there, it would probably cost 3 times as much to put those seats in as to get 41,000 seats. So roughly about $10 million on estimated costs to put permanent stands in the end zone.
Well, I can certainly understand why you've put that on the back burner.
Well, it's a very effective cost consciousness to put in, all we have to do is cut the grass to accommodate the fans rather than putting in a whole lot of expense.
You've always been pretty close to the buck.
Well, Don, I'm like you. I've got each one I've earned. And
speaking of earned, Wolfpack fans have watched the team earn, and lose some hard-fought football games in Carter-Finley. 2 games in '79 come to mind, both defensive struggles. Perhaps the most crushing defeat in Carter-Finley history is the Penn State game. State appears to have the game won when Scott Smith goes over from the 2 with 1:18 left and gives the Pack a 7-6 lead. The Nittany Lions move the ball to midfield, and Herb Menhart boots a 54-yard field goal with only 1 second left. The loss cost State a bowl bid because the Pack defeated Duke the following week for the ACC championship and a 7-4 record. October 13th, 1979, State against Maryland. The Wolfpack scores the game's only touchdown when Dwight Sullivan breaks tackles and rambles 14 yards into the end zone. State's defense was tenacious, holding the Terrapins to 133 yards total offense, and never lets Maryland advance past the State 33-yard line. The stadium's top 11 draws and 16 of its top 18 are games in which State played East Carolina or UNC. Carter-Finley Stadium will always serve as a monument to the vision and insight of those who wish to carry on the rich tradition of NC State's athletic success.
We're fortunate to have one of the finest football facilities in the country in which to play. We have, I think, the finest playing surface that we have ever played on, and we have a stadium where every seat is a fine one for the spectators who come out and support Wolfpack football.
Thanks very much, Coach. And just for the record, Carter-Finley Stadium, there are 4 NC State teams have been undefeated in Carter-Finley Stadium, and the longest winning streak is 16 games, and that stretches over a span of 1972 to 1975. And we'll be back with more of the Coach Dick Sheridan Show right after this commercial timeout.
Security of health care coverage when and where they need it. They couldn't picture their lives without it. Could you?
Malcolm Grissett, a dedicated man to serve the needs of Topsail Township, Castlehane, and Brunswick County. Better roads, better education, and help for our senior citizens. Issues that concern you concern him. With 24 years of public service, Malcolm Grissett has the background to do the job and do it right. Jim Martin needs Malcolm Grissett in the General Assembly. Jim Martin and Malcolm Grissett, a winning combination. On November 4th, elect Malcolm Grissett to the North Carolina House.
There's a beautiful line of water beds, bedroom suits, and accessories waiting for you at Rip Van Winkle Water Beds. From a complete bedroom suit to the $179 king-size special or a set of fine sheets, Rip Van Winkle's selection, service, and prices can't be touched. For the finest in water beds at reasonable prices, see Rip Van Winkle Water Beds, 1053 South College Road, for the rest of your life.
I'm really proud of my new office. It gives me the expanse I need to keep all the weather data I use when compiling forecasts. For example, this nifty unit enables us to make our own forecast with data from the National Meteorological Center in Washington, D.C. And this computer helps us to relay special weather statements and warnings to coastal Carolina residents. The end result of all this is concise, accurate weather forecast every day, what you can expect from the news station that's taking the lead.
Meteorologist Ed Matthews, only on Eyewitness News 3.
I'm sure you haven't had a chance to get a full report on some of the injuries sustained yesterday, Coach, but what can you tell us at this point in time as we tape our show?
Well, the game was very costly from an injury standpoint. Mark King, we're very concerned about him. He has a possible spleen injury, and Eric Kramer, Naz Worthen, and Nelson Jones were all injured in the ball game, and we really don't know the extent of those injuries yet, but we're certainly not going to be at full strength.
Well, we hope those fellows are ready to play, and Again, we will look for your company next Sunday here on the Dick Sheridan Show. Thanks for joining us this weekend. We'll look forward to seeing you next Sunday. So long for now.
This has been the Dick Sheridan Show, with highlights of North Carolina State University football. Brought to you by Goodies and by Lundy's.